Okay, so we're going to start out with a script. Thank you very much. This is also a little Jessica here. I have a script. I'm going to read a script. Here we go. Elijah Pasko, or Eli, lives in Cutton with his mom and dad and an adorable little sister. His mom works at an online hippie university, and his dad is a stay-at-home dad, not a sports junkie. He loves playing the guitar and has since he was 13. This is your dad or you? There we go. Eli is a junior at Arcata High School and plans to go to UC Santa Barbara and major in engineering. Eli won in the senior division individual exhibit at the Humboldt County History Day competition, and his exhibit is called Dorothea Dix, Manumitter of the Mentally Impaired. Did I get that right?
Dorothy.
Dorothy.
Yeah.
Dorothy Dix. Please welcome Eli Pasko.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate having this opportunity. I'd like to say that my topic starts on a rather grave but rather important note, and it's something that I think most people don't spend too much time thinking about, and that is the treatment of the mentally ill before the modern era. And since the Middle Ages, there's been a prevalent thought that they were possessed by demons, or that they were being punished for a wrongdoing, and there was a heavy prejudice against them, even to the mid-19th century. They were often neglected and even quite often abused. And although there were some almshouses and hospitals for them, they weren't for rehabilitation, and they were more to separate them from the rest of society. Treatment was definitely not widespread in the 1800s, and when it was there, it was awful, and it wasn't helpful to them. Oftentimes, treatment would be quite damaging, and people such as Benjamin Rush, who was actually dubbed the father of modern psychiatry, he developed the tranquilizing chair, which is pictured here, that strapped them in and blinded them for hours on end. He also used practices such as using mercury and bleeding and other damaging things that just did no help. They were mentally ill, were restrained in cages such as the Belgian cage, and they were tossed to the side like animals, and many of their caretakers didn't care for them like humans. One extreme case of treatment was called the Rotary chair, and it strapped them in and spun them around at a very high velocity. They had no idea what to do to help these people. And then came Dorothy Dix, who's pictured here. She was like a miracle worker for these people. In the early 1800s, she witnessed how they were being treated, and it completely shocked her. So she completely devoted her life to helping the mentally impaired and getting them better treatment. She was quite influential and helped establish asylums and almshouses in 16 states where they could be treated and people would be caring for them to help them instead of just to separate them from the rest of society. She started in Massachusetts, scrupulously documenting pages on pages of research and her findings of how they were being treated. And then she presented them in what she called memorials to the legislatures of the states. And she not only helped establish many asylums and hospitals for the mentally impaired in America, but was instrumental in establishing the Great Asylum on the island of Jersey. Now, I first heard about her in my history textbook, and it gave me about 2 sentences about her, and I found it really, really interesting, but it seemed like it overlooked her a little bit, and it really didn't give me that much information. So when I decided that she would be my History Day topic, I went to the Arcata High School library, which is actually pretty big, and I looked for a book on her, and I couldn't find anything that was on her specifically. And even through the history books that were there, I had to do a lot of digging. And I eventually found like a reference set and I had to take the book from the Reform era, and it gave me a couple pages on her, but it seemed like she was really overlooked. And so most of my sources for this project came from online. And my best source was definitely the New York Times archives. I thought it was awesome. I found a whole bunch of old newspaper articles, which are on my board, and it was great because I was getting the opinions from the press at that time and the opinions of people who were seeing the immediate results of her actions. And not only did I find articles, but letters to the editor of New York Times. So I got a lot of personal opinions on Miss Dorothy Dix. And all of the sources that I found went on and on about her insane devotion and incredible level of dedication to helping these people, saying that's basically all she did for years on end. It was cool with the articles. I felt like a historian because I was like putting the pieces together and making a story out of it. I had one source from 1954, from September, that was talking about her departure to Europe and how it was a touching incident because she was leaving America and everybody there was just showering her in love and respect and reminding her how influential she was. And she was crying, and then she left to Europe. And then I had a New York Times article that was actually news from Halifax and Newland from the steamer of like a Europa ship, and it was saying how she was visiting the St. John's Asylum there, and she had a main intention of reviewing how they were being treated. So she did a lot of work not only in America, but on other parts of the world too. People are quoted saying that the nation owes her a great debt of gratitude that it can never pay. And I agree with that because she was a hero for a lot of people. She changed a lot of people's views about the mentally impaired, both by presenting how they were being treated and showing that they should be treated much better because they were people too. And she said the responsibility of their caretakers not to just throw them aside like animals. And I found it quite interesting that most people that I talked to about her haven't heard of her, and if they hadn't heard of what she did. Because from about 1870, somebody was quoted saying, "Her name is a household word wherever civilization and Christian charity are known and respected." So she was very popular and very known in the 1800s, but she seems quite overlooked today. And I think that she's an underrated and undercredited historical figure. Thank you.